Alrighty. So yeah, for the most part, this is what we did. It's just a little greeting card with a button. And this is supposed to be just basic composables, right? So like we have surface with the color scheme set to primary, and that's what we kind of see there. That color here, that weird sort of blue. But essentially you have this modifier that has some padding as well, obviously, for the side. So we have the vertical and then the horizontal padding. That's pretty much just wrapping around this entire card that you see here. And over here we have sort of like this this row, right? So that we can sort of wrap up the text on the left and the buttons on the right. And you can see that here in this column where we have the two texts on top of each other, and then we have the button on the right hand side. Again, there's no on click on this button. So all we've done really is work with modifiers, work with these sort of basic composables. And that's pretty much been it. Do you have any sort of like questions about what you've seen so far or anything like that?
No, I'm familiar with those. The thing that actually I trip over or I don't fully get comes from the infrastructure of how the how Compose is set up. So if you go to the left-hand side where you have
Oh, like on the project pane?
yes, the project pane. So
Right.
if you still have that,
Man, I wish I could increase the size of this.
no, that's fine.
But yeah.
So all the Gradle scripts tend to trip me over because there tends to be more than one Gradle script, and I'm not really
Yes.
sure how to set it up. Like if you
Gotcha.
were to tell me like, okay, you gave me a blank Gradle script and you wanted me to set it up for this. I mean, for the most part, what happens is that we download it already prepared, right? So we don't really understand how it was prepared. If that
Okay.
makes sense.
I can help you with that. I mean, we could turn this meeting around for now. So like, let's say that you have a whatchamacallit, an existing views app, right? That's what you're referring to, like having something legacy and then porting over Compose.
Like let's say you didn't download for this type of project, you
Right.
can basically upload it from the um from Android already has it set up for you basically.
Yeah.
When you create a project, it automatically gives
Boom.
you
Empty Compose.
Gradle create yeah.
Right.
So I'm saying let's say for example that the project didn't automatically give you a Gradle a build, right? Let's
Right.
say I gave you a blank page. How would you know how to set that up in order to get this off the ground? Like how would you understand the different pieces of the Gradle properties? Like
Yeah. And we can go through that. So for the most part, let me go ahead and create that real quick. All right. So let's say that we do have this sort of like empty views, and obviously it's never going to be empty. Like most of the time you're going to be working with something that you've worked on before, so it's going to be like full of Java or Kotlin code with XML files, etc. And one thing to note is that you're not expected to know how to do this without references, right? So even me telling you with confidence like, oh, we could add Compose to an existing views app, right? That's me knowing that the things that I need to know to be able to do that. But that's not me saying, oh, I know exactly which dependencies you need to add. Does that make sense?
yeah, I see what you mean.
So I mean, we could take a look real quick. So there's this guide on how to set up Jetpack Compose, and it's a Google Doc, and that will just follow real quick. But first of all, I want to go ahead and run this, make sure that it's actually running. And of course, another Java Gradle issue. So this is pretty easy for me to fix now because I'm so used to it. So it's saying basically that we're on Java 11. Fine. And then it's saying that the plugin requires Java 17 to run. So I'm just going to go to project structure under file. I'm going to go under SDK location. And then you see Gradle settings here. I think you could also go, if you see this little, oh, that's to sync it. I don't know where it was actually. SDK manager, maybe? No, that's not it. There was another button that I'm probably missing right now. But if you go here under Gradle settings, down here you could select your version. If you don't have it, just select download and then select the number, and that's how you're able to do it. So I'll just go ahead and run it now. I think it should be able to run. And see what happens. And once it runs and we see hello world, then we know, okay, this views app is working. Like we have, for example, a layout file that has activity main, right? And that's referencing this. So we don't have to like add any like mock activities or anything like that to see that this will work. But for the sake of this, we could add another activity, let's just say, and we could make that activity something that we launch to, and we could try compose in there, right? Like we could do a lot of these things just to see how much integration we can get. And mind you, you can use compose anywhere. It'll be totally like interchangeable with the views, that you currently have. So this is the guy that I'm talking about real quick. This one right here that says quick start. Oops. I'll go ahead and drop it in the chat. There it is. So this one is basically like telling you what you need essentially to set up compose. Like for example, it says it here, set up compose for an existing app, right? And I know what you mean. There's two build Gradles. There's like, Gradle properties. There's local properties. There's all these different files. So
Exactly.
I know exactly what you mean.
Yeah, so it's confusing. Sometimes I put the dependency in the wrong one, and then it
Right.
complains, and it's like at that point yeah, that's really where I'm going.
So if you're following Google Docs, most of the time they'll mention it. For example, it might not be clear right now. It just says build Gradle file, but if you notice, it says add the following definition to your app's build Gradle file, and usually here you'll see project, right? Like the name of the project, and then module app. That's usually like the way I remember when I'm reading the docs. If it says, oh, your app's Gradle file, oh, it's gonna be under this one, the module build Gradle. So this one, if you take a look, the first one, you'll see some high level like files that that get you some configurations, right, for Android. This one, you could tell it's not the right one because it doesn't have much right from the get-go, right? And most of the time, I don't think you'll be adding too much to this one. Dependencies will go into the module one, which is this one over here. And this one, it has all these crazy things, right? Like default config, build types, etc. All the way down here is when we see dependencies. Now, following what the doc said, following what it says under this file, go ahead and set compose to true and add this compose options, right? Sort of like compiler extension version, right? Makes sense. So you don't have, this doesn't mean that you have to go copy this and literally drop it anywhere. In fact, you'll probably get errors if you do that. What this means every time I see it is that beneath Android, like within Android nested, within build features, if you have it, which most of the time you will, you'll go ahead and set compose to true. And you'll see it now. So within Android, we don't have build features, we have build types. If you don't have build features, because you don't see it, just go ahead and add it. That's all we're doing. So we say build features, and then we drop in the compose true. Boom. And then it says under compose options to add this sort of Kotlin compiler extension version. So I'll go ahead and copy that because I don't think we have a compose options. We do have a compile options, but not a compose options. I'll just go ahead and drop it up here.
But you were running Compose prior to adding these things.
No, this is a new project I made. So this one is
Okay.
a new views.
Okay, you have another one. Okay, I
Yeah.
got you.
So I'm following the guide as it is right now. And I just added build features with compose true and compose options extension or whatever. I'll go ahead and sync. If it works, cool. If not, we could deal with the build errors. But for the most part, I think that's pretty straightforward. Let's see what else we need to add. So it's downloading or indexing the Java version, but let me go back to the file here. And it says it here, like what it is, which is great. So setting the compose flag to true enables the actual functionality of compose, right? So like the core functionality of it. And then this one right here, the second line, that's basically tied to the actual like versioning of the Kotlin, I guess, language itself, because there is some sort of compatibility issues that you could have, like with your Java, Kotlin versions, etc. And here, if we open up the map, you'll see like down here you have the compose compiler version, and then you have the compatible Kotlin version. We go back to the app right here. We have all these different sort of versions, and down here you see like Kotlin options, the JVM target 1.8, etc. That's usually referring to the actual version of this. Does that make sense?
Right. Yeah.
And then basically that's saying like, oh, if you have 1.8, which we do, then it doesn't matter what the sub version is, like the minor version is, but the actual 1.8 is what matters, right? So if it goes to 1.9, then this one is probably the last working one for the 1.8. In this case, we have 1.4.8, I believe, for the compiler extension. So it's synced perfectly. We should be able to run it. I'm not gonna try it, but we should be able to run it just fine because we haven't done anything. So let's go back to this real quick. And then down here is where it gets crazy because you have all these different dependencies, right? So this right here is probably like a new word if you're not familiar with it. This BOM, compose BOM, that's bill of materials. And there's a little section over here that sort of talks about it. Not super important right now to know, but that's just in case you didn't know what that meant. But for the most part, what Google did here was they said these are the dependencies that you're able to add most of the time for like just getting compose to work. But these are also optional. Like there's a lot of optional stuff in here. For example, you could select material design 3, material design 2, or just skip it all around and go to the actual foundational components that we know, right? Like the old stuff. So you have sort of like that option. You don't really have to do like all of these at once, which helps, right? So I know that we have to define this. I know that we have to add this in. So I'm gonna go ahead and copy this. And that's gonna go under dependencies down here. Sorry, my voice is like leaving. All right, there it is. I'm not gonna sync it yet. I'm gonna make sure I have everything that I need. All right, so let's see what else. Let's go ahead and add a material design 3, because why not? Let me add it with the comments just in case, so it's easier to find. What else? What else? We don't need this. We don't need this. Preview support. So this is what allows us to be able to see like live previews for Compose. So I'm gonna go ahead and add that. We have UI testing. We don't need that right now. It's good to know, but we don't need that at the moment. Although this might include some stuff that is useful. But for now, I'm gonna skip over it, if that makes sense. And then over here you have like extra optional stuff, right? Like material icons, window size utils, etc. This down here is probably like the most important stuff. Integration with activities, integration with view models, integration with live data. Those things, like that's something that we use on the regular. Activities are still probably like the most foundational I guess element that we work with, right? So for the most part, like I'll just grab this even if I don't need it right away. And just in case there's build errors, I could sort of walk through them. So I'll go ahead and add all that in there. And yeah, I think we could go ahead and sync now in the meantime. And then let's go back to see what else it says. Yeah, so that's pretty much all the setup that they talked about. So literally like a couple dependencies, and then this is probably like the newest thing that we had to deal with. Oh, I had it on Groovy. It doesn't really matter, but you could always select it here. Like you have these different options. You'll see the same thing with like Java, Kotlin, etc.
So it really doesn't matter if I copy Groovy code or Kotlin in
I mean, it
there.
ran, so I'm not worried. It would have thrown me some error, And also like here, if you notice, it's the same thing, like the way that they have set up. There's a lot of ways that you'll see things sort of vary. Like for example, there are some times where you'll see like double quotations, right?
Right. That kind of threw me off too because I'm
Yeah.
like, okay, when do we use double versus single?
To this day, I don't know. I haven't cared enough to look for it because it works. So
It really doesn't matter, I guess.
yeah, so and maybe that's a good question to ask myself, something to look at in general. But for the most part, I really don't think it's that important at the moment.
Right.
So just do whatever you feel comfortable with. And then as far as like the actual activity itself, so taking a look at compose in general, and some of the stuff that we've done, even this other project that we have set up. Let me see if I can open it real quick.
And
Go ahead.
so in this case, the other Gradle files, what is their purpose? I guess
Oh yeah.
it's just like you were saying that it's not really important or
Well, it is important, but you probably won't touch this too much. This is like super high level stuff. Like if you notice the names, is literally like core libraries for Android. And it says it up here too, like top level build file where you can add configuration options, etc. To all sub project and modules. So this is important, but when it comes to like setting up for compose and stuff like this, most of the time you won't touch this. There are times where you will, like there are some libraries and frameworks that I've actually had to go in here and add some stuff, but for the most part it'll be under the module, which is the one that has the dependencies and build types, etc.
Okay, so basically what you need to know is what you should just know.
Yeah, it's like a need to know basis, like, or yeah, it's not really like you have to know everything. Especially when you start out. When I first started out Android, it took me like 2 projects to understand what a recycler view was doing, and that's just the way it is. Like sometimes it'll be slower, sometimes it won't click right away. Like I didn't know what the manifest was doing half the time. I just noticed that on the internet, people would just be like, "Oh, add this to the manifest," right? So over time, like you'll understand more. Like for example, maybe you don't know that under what is it, local properties. No, that's not it. Where is it? No, sorry. You could add what I was gonna get to is like, for example, API keys and stuff like that. You could add it to some of these property files. You could even make a separate file like secrets.xml to sort of hide the key from GitHub being, published, etc. And those are things that you learn over time based on whatever you need at the time, right? So yeah, I wouldn't stress too much on that. What I was gonna say is this is a view activity, like a regular views app, sorry. And we just added the dependencies for Compose. We have here this set content view for like the layout main. Makes sense. But what I wanted to show you was we should be able to use it now because it's literally like the same thing, right? We have class main activity. The only difference is that instead of being app compact, now it's going to be compose activity. Make sense? Or
Okay.
component activity, sorry. So we'll copy that over. And it should import, or it should give you the option to import. You shouldn't have any like missing imports. If you do, then you're probably missing a dependency. That's usually what that means. Yeah, still on create. It still calls the super on create method. And then instead of doing this, we'll just do like set content view, or set content, sorry, set content. Oops, set content. And if it doesn't reference it, it's probably because we're missing the, whatchamacallit? What is this? Yeah, it should be under the component activity. So I wonder if it's because we are not doing, let me see here. That's the label. No, it looks the same here. So I'm pretty sure it's probably because we're not doing the whole thing yet. Let me see if I can get like the theme, for example. This app is called Views. What is it? Oops. Views app to compose. I mean, this is how it should be anyway. And I could probably see that in here. Oh wait. It's missing the themes from what I see as well. So there's probably some dependencies that are missing. So let me take a look at that real quick. So we added pretty much all of them except for I think we might need, not that. Probably this one. Let me take a look at this other project that we had open, just to make sure. I'll take a look at this dependencies right here. And you can kind of see like what they have here. Like they have the tooling one, which we have. They do have the testing, but like I mentioned, we probably won't need it right now. And I think we need this. I think this is the one that we need, which is just like the UI stuff, which is this right here. So I go ahead and copy that over and see if that's what we're missing.
All right.
And if that's it, then we should be good. So let's take a look. Notice it has parentheses.
Right.
Yeah, doesn't really matter. It just ran, you know, like it just synced like normal. So yeah, I'm not too worried about that when I see it. And then the one thing I am not seeing right away is, and maybe this is because I'm missing out the dependency, but for the most part, the call it the actual theming itself. Like it's supposed to have a theme setup when you import Compose. And that'll usually go not here. This is the old way to do it. But it'll be under the same like activity or package as the main activity. Which I'm not seeing, but let's take a look. Maybe we need to rebuild. Let's try that. Oops. That's probably it. Yeah, let's do this. Let's go ahead and stop it. Let's go ahead and clean the project. Interesting. Okay. This calls for invalidate caches and restart. This is like my my silver bullet. Hopefully that clears anything that might be messing with this, but for the most part, I'm surprised that we're getting errors, period. We'll take a look. All right, let's see. It's indexing. Let's take a look at this real quick. Yeah, this is what I had mentioned, the BOM. This basically allows you to manage all these versions without having to like manually find whatever the latest version is, etc.
Okay.
Yeah. All right, cool. All right, let's take a look at this. Mhm. And then did you have any other questions by chance? Like just to
Um, uh, well, I guess with this one, this particular question, the link that you gave to Android, I think it
Mhm.
explains parts of this file. Uh,
Right.
but I guess what I'm trying to see is what I'm gonna do is I actually didn't know that this this guide existed. So I'll look deeper into this because I
Mhm.
haven't read it yet. Perhaps if I go through that page, I'll see the rest of all
Yeah.
of the stuff on there.
Yeah, for
So
sure.
I mean, you don't have to, use up all the time to go through each
No,
one.
no, you're
Just
good.
yeah, there's if there's a reference and there's a guide, I could just go over it at my leisure.
No, you're
And
good. For the most part, I'm trying to see here. So apparently, this might require some what do I call it? Some Stack Overflowing. Um, so for the most part, let's take a look at this. It says to select here. What is that? Toggle offline. No, this doesn't work. Okay. I'm pretty sure you know what it is. So down here, I noticed that we had um some stuff without like specified versions, so to say. Like most of the stuff will have a version at the end of it, as you can see here, but
right,
some of the stuff
yeah,
doesn't, right? And
yeah,
maybe that's not the case, but maybe it is. So I'm assuming that might be one of the reasons why. Like these don't have it, not all of them, but a lot of them do. So let me see real quick.
right. I'm thinking it will complain if it was required and
Yeah, most
or
of the time it would.
if you don't put it, the default should be the latest version.
Right, exactly. And then over here, it's saying some random stuff for the package itself. Could not find MP. So let me Let me take a look at this as well, because maybe that's the main error. So let me try to remove the Gradle cache directory, apparently. And mind you, this is a pain that most people will go through, period. Like if you're trying to implement Compose for the first time, it's always like this at the beginning. But once you get it
Right.
set up, it's good to go, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, because the thing is that for me, even though it's easier to just go ahead and build a project and let the IDE give you everything in the
Right,
files, I also like to understand what's happening underneath because
right.
if there's a serious problem or something that I need to troubleshoot, I'm gonna second guess myself because I'm gonna
Right,
wonder maybe it's I didn't understand the Gradle portion, or it's gonna just throw me off in that since I don't have enough knowledge from the fact that it's already built from me for me.
right.
Um,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yep. Let's try this. We already did Gradle sync, but just in case. Nope. All right. I don't know why it's saying that. It's weird. Well, I mean, this is the last time I'll try it real quick. I don't know why I'm so hard-headed when it comes to this.
no problem.
All right, so let me see what the Gradle version is. No, where was this? Am I in the wrong area? Gradle version. So this might be the issue actually, because, oh, just because. um, and I'm pretty sure this one's gonna have a different one, or maybe not, but since it's fully composed. But let me take a look. Oh, no, it's the same one here. Weird. Well, let me try downgrading it real quick and see what happens. So I'll drop it to like, I don't know, 742. 742. Apply. And then
You have a oh, that's pretty cool. You have a cat running across.
it's an extension, yeah. So if you go to I think it's tools somewhere in there. I don't know where it was. But there's like a marketplace where you could kind of like download all these different things.
Nice.
Yeah. For the extensions or plugins, that's what it is. Marketplace. This one's called this Neon Cat, I think. Neon Progress Bar.
Thanks.
Yeah, for sure. All right, cool. So yeah, for the most part, this is running ish, trying to download, but if I can't get it to go, then we'll just finish up that code lab together and call it a day.
Yeah, yeah. Let's just focus on because I mean, I like I was saying, I could dig into the documentation.
Right.
I didn't know it existed, so that was actually my main problem.
No, yeah. When it comes to documentation, Google's pretty good at it if you know how to where to find it. Because a lot of stuff is obviously like, oh, this is, you know, an academic document talking about objects and all these different things. But a lot of times they do have like actual instructions and actual guides and explanations, right? And that's super helpful.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Yeah. I think what I'm seeing here is that we're missing Google services, which might be the issue. Services. Yeah, I don't see it at all. So what I'll do is I'll just add this random version of Google services.
And it does say that the minimum should be 7.5 for the greater.
Oh, nice. Very nice. I mean, that's not too bad, I guess. Makes sense. All right, so this is bring it back up and then add the service. 8 point, what was it? 0.0 flat. Yeah. Just leave it there. And then I will go ahead and add Google Services, which is under this, or it should be here. Under this other build Gradle file we talked about. This one also has the dependencies that you can add to it.
Oh, I see.
It should be in here. Or maybe not. Let me double check. um, hmm. Oh no. Yeah, they meant it in the module. I got confused because of the class path. So let me, but yeah, you can add a dependency in there too. But I'm gonna go ahead and drop it in here. Here. Let me take this with me. Or I guess this only. Try that. All right, here we go. Same issues. So I'm just gonna drop it for now. If I resolve it, I'll let you know.
Yeah. So, yeah. But thanks for looking into that though.
No, yeah, for sure. Anytime. It should be like this. Like we should have seen like this whole theme thing, etc. But the fact that we didn't, we're probably missing something that maybe they don't have. Like I've seen that before in the documents. They might be missing some things. It's kind of hard to stay on top of all of this, you know. So,
Right. Yeah, they would have to keep updating the documents all the time.
which it happens, but you know, there might be stuff that they miss. That's okay. All right. So for the most part, we were here. Any questions about like, you know, this code right here before we dive in?
Which one?
I don't know if you could see like the just in general, like this greeting function, composable function.
No, because I am familiar with
Yeah, for the most part.
yeah, the elements inside the server. Yeah,
All right.
so yeah, it's
So this is supposed to be like state